Hello, welcome to Maths Not Live. This is the first Friday session where every Friday the lesson is not live, it's pre-recorded, and it's going to have a Key Stage 3 aim nearly every week just to get you Year 6s ready for some of the topics that you'll be doing next year and the year after, right through to GCSE. Today, I have touched on this a little bit in some of my previous lessons when we were doing area and perimeter, but I'm going to focus on the area and perimeter of a circle. So, to start with, you can find the area of a circle. We are going to go through that today. But you can't find the perimeter of the circle. Why can you not find the perimeter of the circle? Because we don't call it the perimeter. We call it the circumference. And it's just the same thing as perimeter. We know perimeter is the outside of the shape, the distance around the outside of a shape or a space. Whereas we call this the circumference. So the outside of this circle here is called the circumference. It can be measured again in centimetres, metres, depending on the size. So for example, if we measured this all the way around and it was 5 centimetres, the circumference would be 5 centimetres. But again, with a circle, you think, well, you can't measure it necessarily. You can't like get a tape measure or a ruler because that doesn't really work. So we're going to be looking today how to find the circumference and how to find the area. Now, the circumference around the outside. There's two other parts of a circle that we need to remember in order to be able to find the area and the circumference. One is if you split the circle in half and you go all the way across, you can do it that way, you can do it that way, as long as it's in the middle, not up here. You have to split the circle right through the middle, okay? That is called the diameter. The diameter, so it goes all the way across. I remember that as well because when babies are born, you can measure across their tummies, and that's the diameter of their tummies to go on their size and weight. And the last part is half of the diameter. Half the diameter. So I can put it here and go across. I could put it up here if I wanted to. Okay? And that is called the radius. The radius. So halfway across a circle is called the radius. A way to remember it is, I love this, I got taught this a few months ago, radar. So if you heard of radar, it goes, the little shape starts in the middle and goes beep, beep, and it rotates all the way around the inside. So if you're thinking, oh, which one's the diameter, which one's the radar? Remember the radius as being that one that goes round and round. Right, radius, diameter. I might leave that up there actually. So, if we're not necessarily measuring the circumference with a ruler, how do we find it? And therefore, if we're not measuring the circumference again with a ruler, how do we find the area? Because we know in a quadrilateral, the area is base times height. There isn't a base and there isn't a height necessarily with a circle, so how do we do this? There's two formulae. We have to use algebra to find the area and circumference of a circle. Now, C stands for circumference. So to find the circumference, we need to do pi d. Pi. What is pi? And it's not spelt like the pie you eat. It's spelt Pi. And the symbol for pi is I. Sometimes it's like this. Sometimes I think this is the posh, old way of doing it. It looks like this. Okay, you can find it on a calculator. So if you've got like a scientific mathematical calculator, a really big one with loads of buttons, you'll spot that symbol. If you've got a certain brand of phone, if you get on the calculator and then you turn your screen around so it's this way, a lot more buttons appear and pi is usually on there as well. Why do we use a symbol for pi? It's because pi is a really, really, really long number. If you click pi and then click equals into your calculator, it's 3.145 It's really, really long. So we have to use a symbol because each time we want to do this formula calculation, you don't want to be typing in that really, really long number. So we remember that pi is 3.14. I'm going to write that down there. So it equals 3.14 to 2 decimal places. So if you were given a question about the area or circumference of a circle and it was a non-calculator paper, you would be able to use 3.14 for pi, and it's something you need to remember, okay? It's one of those, so you know, you've got to remember, how do I find the area of a quadrilateral? Right, length, base times height. Pi, you've just got to remember, it's 3.14. So to find the circumference, the distance around the outside of a circle, you do pi d. That means pi times by the diameter. Remember from algebra, if the two symbols are next to each other, there is a missing multiplication sign. So let's have a go. Say if the diameter of this circle is 10 centimetres. Say if it's 10 centimetres. To find the circumference, I would therefore do C equals pi d, which is C equals pi times 10, which would therefore be C equals 3.14 times by 10. So the circumference would be 31.4. Yeah? 31.4 because you've done 3.14 times by 10. Okay? Now, and you've just got to remember that. C equals pi d. Circumference equals pi d. You'll remember it. You'll remember it for the rest of your life after secondary school, so it's important you remember it for secondary school. So we found the circumference, okay? How do we find the area? A for area. Well, we need to use pi again. Now, remember, if you find the area of a shape, it's squared, and squared applies to a circle as well. So it's A equals pi again, but we don't use the diameter this time, we use the radius. Pi times the radius squared. So A equals pi r squared. So on this shape, if the diameter is 10, then the radius, it must be 5, because 5 is half of 10. Okay? So we're finding the area. So A equals pi times 5 squared. Okay? Remember bod mass, you do the squared bit first before the multiplication. So that equals A times pi times 25, because 5 5s are 25. And then you would do 25 times 3.14, which I'm not going to do because I'm just showing you the method. I'm sure you lot can have a go now. Get a calculator or get your written handwork right. 25 times 3.14 and you'll have your answer. Okay? I'm going to leave another one for you to do and you have a go at it. So if you want to, you'll be able to press pause, have a go at it and then see if the answer. So I'm going to change this. Okay. I'll leave all the explanations on there for you, apart from this bit here. Okay, so I'll leave the formulae up there. It's unfair for me to take it down because I've only just shown you during this lesson. So remember pi is here as well. So I'm going to do the diameter again, and this time I'm going to make it as 6 centimetres, and therefore I'm not going to tell you what the radius is. See if you can work it out. Now then, if you would like to find the circumference and the area of this circle, pause now, have a go, and then I'll tell you the answer. So pause. Okay, you should have unpaused now if you want to find out if you've got the right answer. So, C equals pi d. So the circumference equals pi times the diameter, which is 6. So we do 3.14 times by 6, and then you'll have your answer. Okay, I'm not going through all the actual answer calculating today, so as long as you've done 3.14 times by 6, super, you've done the right calculation. Okay, and then the area, how do we find the area again? So it's A equals pi r. So we need to find the radius, and the radius is half of the diameter. So if the diameter is 6, the radius must have been 3. So it's pi times 3 squared. Now, is it pi times 3 and then you square the answer? No, it's pi times, and you do the 3 square bit first, because remember in BODMAS you've got to do anything that's squared or cubed before you do any multiplication or division. So it's pi times by 3 3s are 9, okay, and then you'll have your answer from whatever 3.14 times by 9 is. And that is how you find the area and circumference of a circle. I hope that was helpful today. If you want to go away and do any more practicing, that's absolutely fine. And I'll see you next week for another Key Stage 3 lesson to do with maths, not life. Okay, see ya, bye.